And then I had $300 left in cash to spend and use wisely. And I took that $300, I changed it to Dominican pesos, and I kept them in an envelope. And I would give myself a small allowance every day that I can leave the house with. And this was breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and shopping, because that made me feel confident knowing that I can be here and not go broke. And I lived a beautiful life, y'all. I'm talking dinner on the beach every sunset, yoga on the beach every sunrise, slow mornings, calm days, healthy eating, fresh living. It was just a beautiful life.
Stay tuned to find out how I went from living a miserable life in the United States to living the life of my dreams in paradise. And if you're feeling inspired, go ahead and subscribe to my channel so that you can be here the next time I drop some wisdom.
It's been quite some time since I've been promising myself that I would come here and return the gems that I was able to collect from YouTube University, which has inspired me to be living the life that I'm living today in paradise. And it's taken me quite some time to get the courage to really just come here and tell the story. And for those of you that already know me, you're like, Divine Soul, what? Girl, you needed to find courage? And yeah, I did, because I've been living life afraid for a long time. And I've been making it look really good. And I'm really ready to give you guys some of the tools that I have found that has allowed me to be living a life in paradise the way that I am. So we'll start with a brief introduction. My mother named me Taylor Monique. I've gone through many years of a beautiful spiritual evolution, many spiritual awakenings, plant medicine journeys, ceremonies, healing retreats. And I have found parts of myself that have made me feel more whole and complete in this life. And while going through that rebirth and transformation, I decided that I needed a name that resonated more with who I am embodying as a divine being, as a divine feminine woman, fully aware of my power to create life on my terms. And I prayed on that name for a long time, and Divine Soul was gifted to me, maybe by the ancestors, maybe by some divine intervention. Um, I like to say God gave me that name and placed it on my heart. And no offense to my mother for giving me a beautiful name, Taylor Monique. I really appreciate that name, Mom. I hope it doesn't offend you that I choose to be addressed and affirmed as Divine Soul these days. But I worked hard. I worked hard to become Divine Soul, and I want to share with you what some of that process has looked like. So, I mean, we could take it all the way back to childhood, but I'll spare you all the drama. I really want to take you back to this one distinct evening that I had on my couch while living in Atlanta, Georgia. Um, I'm from Houston, Texas, by the way. Born and raised in Houston, Texas, to my mother and father who were never in relationship other than being high school sweethearts. My mother found out she was pregnant with me shortly after graduation, was on her way to college on a dance scholarship. When that became a compromise, she had to make a choice to pursue a life in a career of dance and, become her own divine soul, or, be a mother to me. And she very fearlessly chose me. And I'm so grateful that she did, because many women are often given the choice to bring life forth, and everyone is not courageous enough to say yes to that assignment. So thank you, Mom. Shout out to you, girl. Um, but as you can imagine, being a child of a single mother, we experienced a lot of challenges growing up. As a child, there were times I remember my mother, stressing about money, about work, about dinner, having enough money to make the bills meet. Um, there are always like conversations about not this week, or wait till we get paid, or we can't afford that, or maybe one day, or, like a lot of language programming this idea that we just didn't have enough to afford the life that we desired. So, um, you know, developing this coping mechanism of understanding at a very young age, and even lowering my own standards of life based on the conditioning process of not being able to have what I wanted as a kid. I never knew these were traumas. It just felt like regular ass life, right? Like a regular situation. But I later found out that these were all parts of a program that was birthing a shadow within me that would later on grow up to believe that I wasn't worthy of the things that I desired, or I had to work really hard to achieve this life of ease, peace, and abundance. And I'm so glad that I found the tools to know that that is actually not my truth whatsoever. Um, I guess I should take you back to that day sitting on the couch in my apartment in Atlanta, Georgia. And at this time, I want to say I was about 27, 28 years old. I was 28. I was 28. I remember because, ooh, this is so good. All the pieces are coming together so beautifully. All right. So, should we start on that couch in Atlanta, Georgia? I'm actually going to take you back to the moment where I was floating on my back in the middle of the ocean. Had just turned 28 in Jamaica. All right. It was my first time on a solo trip out of the country. And I remember this moment like it was just yesterday. Never mind, it was 7 years ago. I remember being in that ocean. It was actually my first time going to the ocean at my hotel for whatever reason. As soon as I got to my resort, I was off the resort. I didn't want to spend a moment with all those tourists. I wanted to get out into the land with the local people. And as I was leaving, getting ready to go to my flight, my spirit was like, you need to get your body in this ocean before you go. So I obliged. I got into the ocean and I'm laying there floating on my back. And I remember this like it was just, it's the most vivid memory because I can still feel it in my body. And it was in that moment in the ocean while I was floating on my back in the most pristine waters. I mean, this water was so clear, so cold. Um, I'm laying there, I'm floating on my back, and I could feel the warmth of the sun from above me completely just like heating up the top layer of my body while the cool and coldness of the ocean was beneath me. And I'm feeling where these two polarities are meeting right in the middle. I'm the convergence of these two extremes. And it was in that moment that I began to pray to God and really just asking myself, how can I expand a moment like this, these feelings of love, gratitude, peace, fulfillment in my life? Not soon after having that conversation with God, I began to feel a little bit pitiful, a little bit sad for myself, really just regretting and dreading the moment that I would have to go home. Shortly after, I'm on the airplane, overlooking the ocean that I was just meditating in, visualizing this perfect version of a life that I had no idea how I would ever achieve. And I was miserable. I cried the whole way home, y'all. I cried the whole way home. Real tears of sadness and just disbelief and desire, desperation, wanting clarity and understanding, like, why does this have to be my life? You know? Um, which leads us to that moment on the couch in Atlanta, 28 years old. And I'm sitting there with a glass of wine and a joint rolled in my ashtray. And I'm sitting there in front of YouTube University. And I'm feeling quite pitiful, like I just turned 28. And anybody, like, come on, the birthday is typically not our happiest time of the year. Like anybody that really is introspective, at least, really anyone, when it comes to your birthday time, I'm sure you can agree, like we tend to get the birthday blues. And it's really our time astrologically to be faced with our lives, challenges, our truest purpose, an opportunity to reflect on where we've been, where we're going, coming up against that moment in life, that same moment of alignment where, we gotta just get clear on what we're wanting and what is truly going to fulfill our hearts and our soul's deepest desires. And so a lot of times around our birthdays, we're feeling quite pitiful because we don't understand these things, but it's like our spirit offering us an opportunity to go deeper and get more clear. And so, y'all, don't mind. I feel like this mean titty sweat just rolling down my chest. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm out here in this Caribbean and it's hot. And I likely won't be editing this. So y'all gonna get it just fresh off the press because I want to make sure y'all getting it real raw, or else you might not get it at all. For being honest. Um, Back to the story. So I'm sitting on the couch in Atlanta, and just reflecting on all of life. I'm looking around me. I've got all this big ass furniture in this little bitty ass apartment because I've downsized from my luxurious life I was living in Houston, Texas. Now just kind of like living the starving artist life in Atlanta, Georgia, full-time henna artist. Bartending part time to make the little ends meet. Life was cool. It was cute, but it just wasn't fulfilling, And so, y'all, I used to treat YouTube and still do like an oracle, if you will, and I would type in like what I was feeling as opposed to like what I wanted to learn, and I would allow it to guide me intuitively to some resources. And it was in this season of life that I began. I want to say I like typed in like I hate my life. Dear YouTube, I hate my life. Help me fix it. Something to this dramatic, expression of like, how do I fix the life I fucked up? How do I start over from, my 20s? How do I begin to live a life that is fulfilling? I'm talking to YouTube like this, like I fucking hate it here. Help me. And YouTube answered. I was provided a list of resources, one that I had already kind of been up on. I'll take that back. This was my very first introduction to Abraham Hicks. And if you know Abraham, and a lot of you do now because Abraham has grown in popularity, but Abraham been underground for a long time, still touching the masses, but just not like a sound on Instagram or TikTok. When I met Abraham Hicks, this was back in 2017. And Abe was lacing me up. Abe was teaching me the law of attraction and teaching me how to be aware of what I'm emitting into the universe based on my thoughts and emotions. And when I could learn to control and navigate these thoughts and emotions, not control, but understand, okay, process and get a grip of, then I could dictate what I was calling into my experience and release more of what I didn't want into my experience. She taught me how to be deliberate in the life that I was desiring and creating, and I'm so grateful for that. But the law of attraction was only a piece of the puzzle, and I knew there was more. I just didn't know where to find it. And that then led me to my boy Bob Proctor, rest his soul. That is a powerful brother, and I tell you, I love me some Bob Proctor. I love me like this, some Bob Proctor. Okay, I wish one day that I would have been able to meet him, see him, hold his hand, shake his hand, get to know who he is personally. That never happened. But I will do my part in continuing to share his message and his teachings by being here with you guys, okay, and giving you the gems that I have been digging so deeply for that have afforded me a beautiful life and paradise. Bob Proctor had the rest of the laws of the universe. Abraham gave me number 3. Bob gave me 1 through 11. And when I found out that the laws of the universe were this pamphlet of how to live life and how to do it in a way that fulfills you and brings you everything you desire, I was like, holy shit. You mean we're out here with a manual? We're out here with a script on how to be successful and play the game of life, but most of you don't have the rule book, let alone know rule number 1, 2 or 3. And this right here, I felt like I had like stumbled upon gold. And I know for a fact that I must have, because when I began to apply these laws that I was learning from Bob Proctor, everything began to make sense. Now, I'm not going to act like I could apply the laws the very next day and it started working. Y'all, this shit took practice, okay? But it was my desire to practice and my intention to get clear and to focus on these things that allowed me to get there at the pace that I did. Okay. And the third person that I met on YouTube that has been a part of such a life-changing transformation, and no shade, I haven't looked up any of his videos in so many years. I feel like part of me has evolved past his teachings. I don't know. And maybe I should circle forward to see where he's at now. Maybe he has something more to offer me. But I got to a place where I was so deep in what I was taking in that I no longer needed his offerings. However, Rob, now I'm trying to combine the names. Ralph Waters was such a profound person and me finding the courage to get the fuck out of the United States. And I'm gonna just say that. And thank you, Ralph. No shade, okay? At the time, Ralph was still living in the US, but he was in Hawaii and he was showing how beautiful the land was and how he made a choice to just get from the fuck where he was and go be in a more beautiful paradise for himself. And that's where he landed. And that inspired me to do the same damn thing. All right. Let me check and make sure the video is still recording, because the last time I had to check, I had been talking for like 15 minutes and it had cut off. And so let me check. I'll be right back. Fingers crossed. Okay. Okay, awesome. It was still recording. Way to go. All right, y'all. So those are the three heroes, my three heroes that I feel were so instrumental in me embarking on a brand new life that I once didn't even know was possible. Ralph Waters, Abraham Hicks, and Bob Proctor. Listen, thank y'all so much. I owe you so much. Thank you. All right. So what happened next, Divine Soul? What happened next was I decided that I didn't want to live in the United States anymore. I was tired of stressing, trying to, live this life experience where I'm working so hard every day at a job or either at my own business, trying to become more successful in my own endeavors, or showing up, shaking martinis to make enough tips to be able to pay all my bills and hopefully have a little bit extra so I can save a little bit each month to be able to afford a life in paradise where I may get 3 to 4 days but be on vacation on a budget type shit, knowing I gotta go back home and do it all over again just to get a few more days. Or if I really want to live a luxurious experience or spend more than 3 to 4 days, and I gotta work even harder and spend even more time saving money to get there. It just didn't make sense to me. The choice that I made for myself was that I'd rather spend more of my time living in paradise versus spending all my time figuring out how to get to paradise. And so I knew I had a choice to make, and I went to God, okay? And God told me, listen, I've sent you these resources via YouTube University. That's me, baby girl. I hear your prayers. I hear when you're talking to me, and I'm answering you. If you can take the time to get focused on what you hear me speaking to you through your heart, then I will continue to show up through these resources, bringing you closer to these answers. And what I love about that word resources, is this is our way of really finding God in all that we do. We refer to God by so many names, and some of us refer to God as source. Abraham Hicks definitely does. And it took me a minute to connect to this word, when we're talking about God, but it is that God is the source of everything, the source of every energy, every feeling, every entity, every being, every thought, every creation, the very beginning of it. And to be able to find resources, tools to help you navigate a life that you are praying, desiring to experience, you go to God to do that. And God will resource himself, herself, itself into many versions of people, answers, questions, experiences, opportunities, doors, platforms, things, this video that will allow you to get closer to your purpose, which should be experiencing a life of authentic joy, fulfillment, and happiness. For me, it is that. It always has been that. And I wasn't even clear why I was so unfulfilled. And now I know it was because I was not living an authentic life. I definitely was not experiencing authentic joy, and there was no fulfillment. Um, so I put these laws into place. Now, let me tell you, there were so many laws, y'all, and maybe we'll do a video series. Let me know in the comments, actually. And while you're at it, if you're feeling inspired, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Like this video if you feel like it is dropping some gems and helping you get closer to clarity. Maybe even share it with somebody that you think or is on the same wavelength as you and could use these words as well. Because at one time I was that girl, and that's why I'm here giving you this goodness now. But the one law that I learned was the number one law of the universe. And it may be more common knowledge now because of the platforms that we have on social media, but at the time nobody was talking about these things, okay? And the number one law is the law of thought. And in the law of thought, it teaches us how your thought frequency travels faster than light frequency. You can literally send a thought around the world quicker than you can send a beam of light. And we all know how fast light travels. And if you can understand how strong of a frequency and quick of a response you get from the power of your thoughts, then you can use your thoughts and your mind as a tool to work for you, whereas many of us are allowing our mind to work against us, and it is a detriment and the key ingredient to why we are living such a miserable, depressing life experience, simply because of your thoughts that you're thinking. And a lot of you aren't going to want to hear this, but many of us are choosing to think these thoughts that don't feel good. And you're like, Divine, really? You think I'm choosing to be sad? Oh, excuse me. Excuse me, honey. They say sneezes are tools for transmuting energy. So, ooh, Ashe, give thanks to the ancestors for that. Um, yeah, but you're like, Divine, do you really think I'm choosing to be sad? So what you're saying, I'm choosing to be depressed. I'm choosing to have a broke baby daddy and 3 badass kids. What are you saying? I'm choosing to live in the ghetto. What are you saying? I'm choosing to have this horrible job. Like, I'm trying my best. And as insensitive as it might sound and as unrelatable as it might be in this very moment of your awakening, yeah, babe, I'm saying you're choosing that, because what you don't change for yourself with conscious awareness and effort, you were choosing. Okay. And so it's highly likely that you just didn't have awareness of how negative your thought patterns have been, how much you worry and complain versus pray and set intentions, how much you focus on what doesn't feel good versus getting clear and focusing on what to be grateful for. Like, there are a lot of ways that we can dictate and control where we're giving our thought energy to. But see, a lot of us are on a program where we wake up and our thoughts repeat themselves, and those thoughts are cyclical, and they're creating a perpetual life of misery, because you wake up and you're looking for what you were feeling yesterday, trying to remember, what was that thing I was bitching about yesterday? Oh, that's right, my life. I fucking hate it here. That's right, my job. I don't want to go. That's right, fucking traffic. I hate driving. Like, we find these ways to continue to perpetuate and even expand these miserable feelings and thoughts, and then you wonder why your life sucks, because of the thoughts that you choose. You hear what I'm saying? So, I apologize to you if you're offended by what I'm saying, or if it doesn't feel good to hear this type of honesty. Like, I get it, because I was once there. But know this, and if you stick around on this channel and you choose to take this journey of radical self-awareness, self-love, and an untethered sense of freedom, okay, of your truth, then you will learn a lot about how to navigate yourself on this journey. You'll learn so much more. But in this moment, I want you to know this won't be the first time that you will be triggered here on this channel, because the things that are looking to wake you up out of your sleep, the things that are looking to wake you up out of that darkness, okay, that part of you that wants to cut the light switch on, all right? The part of you that is ready for a radical truth, so you can break the patterns that keep your ass coming to YouTube looking for mentors and teachers to help you figure your shit out. Okay? Um, you'll learn that those triggers are not something that you should be running from any longer, but they are parts of yourself that want to wake you up and bring you more into a deeper awareness that will bring you into your freedom, your authentic joy, and your fulfillment. All right. And so that's what I did. I started applying these practices that I was learning, and I got real impeccable with my word. If that sounds familiar, you might identify with the book, The Four Agreements. Listen, between the 3 I named earlier and your boy Miguel Ruiz, listen. Okay, Miguel Ruiz's book, The 4 Agreements. Number 1, always be impeccable with your word. Number 2, don't make any assumptions. Or was that number 3? Number 2, don't take anything personally. And number 4, always do your best. And these are very easily said, but when you take time to listen to this book, either via audio or to actually read it, so you can highlight, underline, and take notes, okay? This book will wake up parts of you that have been lying unconscious for so long. Something as simple as the words that I'm choosing are creating the life around me, and dictates the way that people view me and the opportunities that I may or may not be receiving based on the words that I'm speaking, all right, and how I show up for myself and for others. Baby, this book is powerful. So if you haven't read that, do that. That's typically where I start all my clients anyway. Like when they come into my shadow healing program, our very first assignment is get this book and read it and call me when you're finished and let's talk about it. If you've read it before, read it again, okay? And I want you to read to me the passage where you may have forgotten this number one tool, which is why you back in my chair in the first place. And not as a punishment, but as a gift. As a gift. That book is a gift. All right. And so if you haven't read it, read it. And if you have read it, read it again because you might be due for a tune-up. Anyway, it was my application of these tools that began to open up my life for me in a way that I only once thought of in my mind, but didn't know it was possible. And Bob would say this. Bob was like, if you can see it in your mind's eye, you can hold it in your hand. And I love that. To this day, I think about that. I'm always like, okay, in my mind's eye, I'm looking at like 50 racks right now, like 50 racks on a Tuesday morning. If I can see it in my mind, I can hold it in my hand. I say 50 racks, but I mean like 50 million because I'm so abundant and I think real big these days. But anyway, let me get back onto the topic, the focus. Oh, the focus was that I started applying these tools and they got me closer to living this beautiful life. So what happened very next, Divine? What happened very next, y'all, is I was like, shit, I'm sick of being in the United States. I don't want to live here anymore. I'm tired of paying for this apartment in Brookhaven, Georgia, okay? I don't even like living here. I don't like the car that I drive. I had so many complaints. And one thing that I learned from Abraham, and I love that she teaches this, she's like, it's okay to be unsatisfactory or unsatisfied with your current situation as long as you understand how to view that and you can control the emotion behind it, right? So no need in being upset or complaining because you don't have what you want, but take this birth of a desire and know that because you have a desire within you of being unsatisfied, then there is a solution being created that will bring you satisfaction. Okay. And so I spend a lot of my time living in the gratitude of knowing if I can identify an area where I want more in my life for my life, then somewhere in this life it is being created for me to find it. Now, the goal is becoming a pure enough vessel to be able to be led to what you're being called closer to by letting all the other shit go. The worry, the doubt, the fear, the anxiety, the toxic people in your life, the toxic patterns that you practice, all of these things. You understand? I mean, it was truly amazing when I got to that point of clarity. So boom, there goes a new desire birth inside of me where I'm realizing if I know good and well for myself that I no longer want to be living where I'm at, then what choice can I make to have a different experience? And that choice was somewhere on the precipice of coming into my thoughts, but I wasn't there yet. What came before that was a beautiful opportunity to come to a retreat. And it wasn't like any type of healing or holy wellness retreat. It was a turn up retreat. My homeboy, some of y'all might know Big Tigger, good friend of mine. I'm gonna name drop a lot on this channel. If you don't like that, then whatever. Like, I'm really thankful for the people that I have in my network because one day my affirmations in my journal was like, as a young girl, it's like I rub elbows with moguls and millionaires. And to this day, that is such a profound truth in my life. And I love to brag about that. So yeah, I'll be name dropping every now and then. It's my business. Don't worry about that. So yeah, anyway, Big Tigger invited me, like, what's up, Divine? Taylor, because he called me Taylor at the time. They were having a retreat, a Memorial Day getaway. You should come. You should pull up. I get you a room or whatever. Just get your flight. So I did just that. And I pulled up in the Dominican Republic, and it was my first time in the DR. And my first time having such a beautiful experience in paradise, as a group of people. Now, y'all know, this is actually okay, wait, scrap all that. All that was a lie. All that was a lie. This is my second time in the Dominican Republic. The first time I was on the south coast of the island in Punta Cana. This time I'm in the north coast at Sosua, in Puerto Plata, actually. I think I said that right. Anyway, if you know geography, you can correct me in the comments. But it's my second time in the DR, and I'm having a blast. I'm just living this beautiful experience. And I don't know, we're here for like maybe 5 to 7 days. Somehow in the middle of this retreat, I ended up meeting a man who convinced me to come off the resort. I wouldn't recommend that, ladies. Traveling alone, I wouldn't recommend that. But if you're feeling divinely connected and always protected by your higher power, then you take chances on your own risk. Make sure you say your prayers and set good intentions. Ask your spirit before you make any rash decisions while out of the country alone. my spirit gave me permission to go off the resort, and he took me to a nearby town that was so beautiful. The name of the town was Sosua. Some of y'all might know a little something about Sosua. I had no idea anything about Sosua before going there, or even at the time, because we had gone at such an early part of the day. I was able to gather enough to know that I loved this place. It had the most beautiful beach that I have ever seen. So many calm and precious people. The food was amazing. The art was incredible. And I decided I wanted to be there. And so I was so grateful for that moment. I remember getting in the ocean and feeling like I could live a life here. So what I do, I took my ass back to Atlanta and I began to get very clear on my intentions, because Abraham and Bob Proctor taught me how to manifest my desires. They gave me steps and tools that I had committed myself to focusing on, because Ralph Waters taught me that if I had a desire to be out of the country, then I can make that choice for myself. And so I didn't. All right. I made that choice that I wanted to be in the Dominican Republic. But I tell you what, I didn't know how the fuck I was going to move out of the country. I didn't know how I would afford housing. I didn't even know what housing would look like, how I would get a job, if I could work, if I had enough money to even live there, how long I could stay. I had no answers. Meanwhile, I'm living in an apartment. I still got like a month and a half on my lease. And you got these big dreams, girl, but do you got a big budget? But do you got the big budget? Okay, what's the question? Let me check this camera. Ooh. Okay, we still rolling. I love it. Um, but do you have a big budget is the question. And the answer was hell no, I didn't have a big budget for that. I didn't know how I was gonna afford that, to be honest with you. But I knew what was most important out of everything was my desire, my thoughts, my intentions, and the focus I was gonna put into those three things. And so I prayed. I took out my journal and I talked to God and I asked God, like, I know you're there because you've been with me all this time. You've answered so many of my prayers. I've watched my life just completely transform again and again and again. And I've never had such a risky, bold, and daring desire to leave the country. I've left my state. I've left from Texas to Atlanta to start my life over again. But like, can I do that out of the country? You know? And I remember making a deal with God, and I don't recommend bargaining with the big guy, okay? I don't recommend that. But, I'm telling my story right now. And I did. I made a negotiation with God, and I was like, listen, I know you want me to trust you, and I know you tell me to just, close my eyes, see the life I want to live, take that first step, and trust the stone will be there. But this is a large gap, God, and I don't think I got that big of a stride, okay? And I said, but this is what I want to do. I want to meet you halfway, God. So I was like, I'm going to put an effort towards creating this life for myself. And I want to see how you meet me in return. Okay. And if we're in this together, God, then show up. Please don't let me down. And I did just that. I decided to list my apartment on Airbnb. Now, at the time, Airbnb was a little baby, brand new to the market. Like, there were no rules. They were paying out a lot of money. It was just like a lot of beautiful things. And I was very nervous about the concept of putting my personal home on, a bed and breakfast website to let a stranger stay in my house. But I was like, fuck it. God said he'll meet me halfway. Let me do my part. And so I listed my place on Airbnb. I took the photos, I drafted up all the listings, and I listed it that night. I was so diligent about my efforts. And I want to say that very next day, I woke up to an inquiry. And there was a lady that was asking me if she could stay in my place, and she wanted to stay for, I think it was 2 weeks at the time. And I was like, oh my God. Because see, I didn't tell you this part, but my desire was not to move to the Dominican Republic, but I just wanted to give myself 30 days in another country to just feel what life would be like, in that environment of paradise every day. I feel like I deserved it. I deserved it. And so that's what I did. I put the apartment on Airbnb. I asked God to meet me halfway, and the lady came back and was like, I'll get your place for 2 weeks. Y'all, for me, that was the answer to my prayer, because I'm thinking like, damn, okay, if she's going to book my place for 2 weeks, that'll give me enough money to at least pay, you know, the rest of my rent for this month or the rent for next month or whatever, however the math worked at the time. And I can figure out the rest. Maybe I'll get one more listing. I can have a friend help me flip my apartment to take on a new guest, and I'll be able to make it work for 30 days. Y'all, I accepted that lady's request. Do you know? She responded back to me with a counter request to extend her stay from the 14 days to a month, a full 30 days. That wasn't nobody but God, okay? And the payout from that was actually going to not only pay the rest of my rent to complete my lease term in Atlanta, but it was also enough money to book my flight to the Dominican Republic and pay for an apartment for the 30 days while staying there. Y'all, when God say you take the first step, baby girl, let me catch you. If you don't take that first step, honey, like just do your part, okay? And so I was doing my part with all these tools I had in tow because see now I got these 11 laws of the universe that are instructing and informing how I should be navigating this experience, okay? Real intricate like. um I kind of want to like speed the story up a little bit. I get so caught up in all the excitement reliving the details of how this unraveled and unfolded for me because I remember being in such a state of unknowing. It was almost miserable needing to trust blindly, but I knew I had no other decision because it was trust blindly or don't trust at all. Go unknowing or don't go at all, you know? And I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna trust you, God. And that's one thing that I can say I've never regretted is betting on God. Betting on myself and betting on God. I have never regretted those decisions. Let me get my hand out y'all face real quick. So I'm gonna speed a little bit. I'm gonna speed the story up just a little bit. And if y'all want me to kind of like break down more of the details for you, I will in like a part 2. But the rest of the story goes like this. I got to the Dominican Republic where I thought I would be living there for 30 days. I had $600 of a budget to use at the time that I felt comfortable with. I didn't want to touch my savings. I didn't want to dip into this other part of my money. I had $600 for 30 days. And I said, make it work. All right. That first 30 days, I was able to use, I want to say my rent, excuse me. Half of that 600 went to my rent. That only cost me $300 for an apartment. It wasn't the cutest apartment. It was maybe like 10 minutes walking from the beach. Very basic, 1 bedroom, a bathroom. It had a TV, a dresser, a microwave, a mini fridge, a window. You know what I'm saying? I was kind of like in an abandoned apartment building. It wasn't abandoned, excuse me. It was an apartment building, but a few of the other buildings in the complex were abandoned because of really bad hurricane damage. And so it kind of felt a little bit eerie at times. I'm not going to even sit here in front like I was living in luxury, but I was comfortable and I made friends before going down there. And it was one of the friends that I made that had gotten me that apartment, and he was a neighbor. So I felt comfortable because I had made the connections. But baby, when I tell you we're going blindly, honey, I went eyes closed, period. Um, And then I had $300 left in cash to spend and use wisely. And I took that $300, I changed it to Dominican pesos, and I kept them in an envelope. And I would give myself a small allowance every day that I can leave the house with. And this was breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and shopping, you know, because that made me feel confident knowing that I can be here and not go broke. And I lived a beautiful life, y'all. I'm talking dinner on the beach every sunset, yoga on the beach every sunrise, slow mornings, calm days, healthy eating, fresh living. It was just a beautiful life. Now, side note, some of y'all heard me say Sosua about 15 minutes ago, and it was like, girl, you moved where? Yeah, I had no idea that I had moved to a red light district. We'll save that for a whole nother story time. But I was the only Black American woman living in this country, and I was also, I'm sorry, in this city, and I was also the only woman that I knew of that wasn't for sale, technically. We'll talk about that on another video, okay? Um, but as my time was coming to an end, I want to say I had about a week left. I was dreading going back home to Atlanta. I didn't want that. You know, I'm like, not, I have afforded myself 30 days of beauty and now I'm sad again, dreading going back. Like, this ain't it for me. I never want to go home. And I don't know, you know, I'm in flow, going to meditation every day, which allowed me to be, you know, very open to experiences, which allows me to say yes to opportunities that typically I may not have otherwise. Let's say, had I skipped meditation and had an attitude, okay? And this young man I met out invited me to dinner. Wasn't very attracted to him, didn't really have a reason to say yes, but I also didn't have a reason to say no. And so I agreed. And it was at dinner that he introduced me to the owner of this restaurant. Well, the owner of the restaurant was a Black American man from the United States trying to figure out what my Black American ass was doing in the Dominican Republic, speaking two languages because I am bilingual. I speak English and Spanish. So he's like, girl, what are you doing here? There are no Black American women, let alone bilingual ones, you know, and like, I actually need you to help me run my business. What do you do? Can we have lunch? And I'm like, holy shit. Of course we can, you know. Peep how one opportunity that I had no resistance in led to another opportunity. Now, had I been hard pressed trying to tell this man he wasn't that fine in the first place and no, I don't want to go on no date with you and been all of these other things, I would have very well missed an opportunity that led me to another grand opportunity. But let's just drop that little nugget here, okay? Because it's relevant and important to your experience. Should you choose to be someone living life intentionally, you must be open to living life with no resistance, because it is in those sacred yeses that you will find opportunities that you've been praying for. All right, we can talk about that more later. If y'all hear anything that you want me to expand on in the future of our sharing, drop it in the comments, because I plan to keep coming back with these gems, and it's so much. It's like a wealth of information I want to share with you. And if you're interested in a certain topic, just let me know. Um, I come back to the restaurant in a few days to meet with the owner, and he was like, listen, I don't know what you're doing here and when you're planning to leave, but I need you here with me. I own this restaurant, but I also own a resort, and both of them cater to the Black American market, specifically Black men, and I could use your help throwing parties and marketing events and running my restaurant. Little did he know I have a degree in marketing, you know, I specialize in event planning, and and I used to like manage restaurants my whole life, y'all. I've been in the restaurant industry for like 17 years. I know you're like, girl, you look so young. How could you have so many years in any industry? But it's true, right? And so as I'm now telling him my expertise, he's like, oh my God, what do you need from me? At the time, I didn't need much at all. I said, I need a place to stay. I need some pocket change to play with while I'm here on the island. And I need some money to pay my bills back home. This man leaned in and asked me, when could I start and how much did I need, honey? Okay. Um, that night, he sent me home in a shuttle from his resort to go get all the things from my little $300 month. $300 a month rent apartment to come choose a room on his resort. I picked one overlooking all of the pools, both pools and the courtyard. It was so beautiful. And this is where I lived for the next year of my life while managing events and supporting him at his restaurant, where I got to eat for free every day. Okay, so not only am I living rent free and I'm eating for free, but I'm living in paradise and I'm getting paid to do it. I'm gonna just let y'all sit with that for a second. I mean, I'm honestly sitting with it for a second because I'm like, damn, girl, you did that shit. And I did. Like, I really did. I did. I did that shit. I remember the day sitting on my couch, you know, just hating the life that I was living. And even though I had so much to be grateful for, I didn't know how to be grateful because I was unhappy and unfulfilled, not knowing that a choice to be grateful for the little things in my life would open up doors to create a life for me that I can't even express the amount of gratitude I have now that I'm living this way. You know, um, I spent that year living in the Dominican Republic. I eventually moved back to Atlanta for 2 years, where I fell back into a depression, which led me into an unhealthy relationship that some of y'all might have seen on TV. I was once on TLC on a show called Seeking Sister Wife, where I was dating a family. Um, my intentions were pure and so full of love, and I really wanted that love. I didn't realize I was entering such a toxic dynamic, which then perpetuated a lot of pain and womb trauma and just unhealthy things in my life. I had never really reached such a low point, and who would have known that, like, going from such a high, like leaving the country and living a beautiful life in the Caribbean, could then spiral back down into such a deep depression. But I have that relationship and that time to thank for coming into myself now as a womb healing practitioner, a divine feminine being, you know, a woman that lives a very conscious life of clarity, focus, healthy eating, healthy living and teaching these things to women and men that desire to do the same thing. Fast forward, I'm now living in Mexico. I've been living here for 4 years in Playa del Carmen. I moved here February 2021. Not quite 4 years. It's more like 3.5 years because, yeah, this is September. We're in September. It'll be September in a couple of days. So we're in August 2024 now. So it's been a little over 3 years, almost 4 years that I've been living here. And in less than 2 weeks, I'll be moving to Thailand in Asia to go and study and learn more tools and modalities of healing to expand my womb care practice. So, y'all, who can y'all hear the thunder? First of all, there's not a cloud in the sky, but there's thunder. I just feel like the gods all just gave me a clap. That was so dope. Thank y'all. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. That was real. Damn, I wish I could have felt that. I hope y'all heard it. But anyway, yeah, like who fucking knew? Who knew? And I'm just so grateful. All that to say, I am so grateful that taking a moment to just pray and be honest about myself, about how unhappy I was with life, and to make a decision to find the tools to make a difference, and the shit worked. Okay? So that's all I have right now, y'all. Make sure that you comment like what you heard in this video that inspired you, what you heard in this video that might have been an eye-opening or an aha moment for you, what you might want to or need to hear more of to get more clear on yourself. Maybe you hear something that you deeply resonate with because you're on that part of the journey yourself and you want to know more about how I've been navigating that experience. I'm here to share. If you're not currently, please go and follow me on Instagram, where I'm giving you more of my personality, more of my stories, daily tidbits of womb healing practices and ways to just take care of your heart, your mind, and your body, and even some ways, some little tools about shaking that ass. Because if you know anything about me, shaking my ass is a huge part of my womb healing practice, and I teach dance classes all over the world, inspiring women to do the same thing. So anyway, y'all, it's hot. I want to go get in a bikini and put my ass in the ocean, which is something that I get to do every day now. I don't have to save any coins to get to the ocean. I just wake my ass up and walk to the water for sunrise, and that is my real life. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. And thank you guys for watching. I love y'all. Come back here so we can keep it real together. Come back here so you can get real with yourself. Come back here so you can get clear with yourself. All right? Just come back. Just come back because I'm cute. You cute. Let's be cute together. All right? I love you guys. Subscribe if it feels right. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.
I really appreciate you guys for being on this journey with me. Thank you for staying till the end. I hope that you got the gems that you came for. And until next time, peace.